up, everyone? Welcome back to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University, Clay Harbor, Alex Shapiro. I'm Ruthie Polinsky, and holy smokes, do we have a lot to get to. On this Thursday, May 29th, is when we are taping this episode, one day after the Bears' second OTA that was open to the media, and we got to hear from Caleb Williams, which obviously is the headline. I know we want to talk about it all. I don't think we need to dwell on it too much, guys. I think the story's over now, if you ask me. I think Caleb put an end to it. He got up there, had that 4-minute opening statement, felt to me a little rambly at times, talked in circles a bit, wasn't exactly the most polished way of getting up there, but I thought he did it with confidence and poise, and it showed a lot of awareness. I think what my biggest takeaway was from Caleb Williams yesterday, he didn't deny anything, but he also didn't deny the significance of the story. He was very up and open, wanted to address the situation, knowing how big of a stir it caused. And I think that shows a lot of awareness for the significance of his role in this city and how big of a job being the quarterback of the Chicago Bears is, and also just kind of what kind of sports town this is. This is a city where everything you do is going to get dissected and analyzed and picked apart. So I really thought he handled it super well. I'm ready to move on. Hopefully you guys are too, but I want to get your thoughts here as we are diving right into it on this episode of the Charter.
Yeah, I agree. As you mentioned, 4 minutes. What a preamble before he even addressed questions. And to me, the most important part was, as you mentioned, he said, yeah, I had a great meeting with the Vikings. That is true. Yeah, the reality was, Bears have not had a 4,000-yard quarterback, and the history speaks for itself. And yes, my dad and I explored every avenue, because wouldn't you do the same for your son? Wouldn't you do the same for yourself? Which I thought was totally reasonable and rational. And then the most important part, we talked about this as the story was coming out, when we were hoping to hear from Caleb Williams soon, was the timeline of it. Yes, that happened. Yes, I met with the Vikings, and the meeting with Kevin O'Connell was great. He was coach of the year for all of these phenomenal reasons. And then I took my visit with the Bears. And after I visited with the Bears and I met the guys, I met the staff, I got the story, then I said I'm going to be a Chicago Bear. Laying out that timeline was so important, where I agree with you, Ruthie. We can put this in the past. And the other big thing, the film watching of it all, he kind of clarified that a little bit, or at least told his side of the story. Like, I know how to watch film. I was hoping to learn things to watch film at an NFL level. Everything you do as a prospect is different from high school to college to the pros. Routine, drill work, reading defenses, that includes watching film. So he was like, yeah, I was just trying to learn some shortcuts. I was just trying to learn how to be more efficient. And I guess maybe wasn't getting the guidance he wanted in that regard, because I know that was a huge concern for you, Clay.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that he did a good job. Like Ruthie said, it was a little rambly, but I like that he went up there without his note card and he's just sitting there reading. And I thought that I wanted to play with the Bears, but no, he went up there, he spoke from his heart, off the cuff, and explained to everybody the situation. Didn't try to deny things, didn't try to put things on someone else. I was misquoted, whatever. He took ownership of everything and said, yeah, the biggest thing was this stuff never happened. These were just thoughts. We didn't do most of this stuff. These were just thoughts, talking about where he wanted to go in the draft. Are we going to nuke the city? Didn't want to nuke the city. These were just thoughts. And being the number one overall pick, we wanted to figure out where the best situation was. After the visit to Chicago, as Alex alluded to, I decided I wanted to be a part of this turnaround, come help this team turn around. So, in my opinion, over, done with, had some thoughts about going somewhere else, took a visit to Chicago, decided, yeah, I want to be here. I want to take on that challenge of turning this city around, turning this team around. Love that. And then Alex alluded to it as well. The film thing was something that I was a little curious about, because a lot of it didn't make sense, but the way he explained it now did make sense. Like, yes, I know how to watch film. I just needed some shortcuts, not shortcuts, but things to make make this go a little smoother, paraphrasing here, little tricks of the trade of how to watch this tape. And I understand that because you get a lot of tape sent at you guys. Okay, so you're getting your third down cut-ups. Say you're playing the Vikings. So you're getting every third down from the Vikings. You're getting every red zone clip from the Vikings. You're getting every base package clip from the Vikings. You're getting every short yardage clip from the Vikings. So Caleb's like, okay, do I just watch these short yardage clips? Do I want to watch a full game? Some guys like to watch full games and just see it as it happens. It's easier for them to figure it out as a full game. Most quarterbacks watch the cut-ups, like Tom Brady. You're ever in a room with Tom Brady, he's watching the cut-ups. So third downs. So now when it's third down, clicks in your head, you're watching all these third downs. So, okay, Brian Flores likes to send the nickel blitz. He likes to send the outside linebacker sometimes. He likes to do a little cross dog. Got to be ready for that. Got to be aware for that. Got to give a high alert to the tackle on the twists, and just things like that. The quarterback's got to know everything. So now I understand a little more. Yeah, I know how to watch film because we watch film all day in the building. We watch film of ourselves, of our game. But learning that, hearing him say that makes me feel a lot more comfortable, especially now that they got Case Keenum in there. Because Case Keenum is a guy who's played in this league for a long time. This guy's my age. I mean, a little bit younger, but I'll just say my age. So I think that's going to help him a lot, get that routine, help him to know what he wants to look for in film, how to watch film, what days to watch what. So I think all of this, like Ruthie said, story's over. We're turning the page, baby. We're talking about some OTAs now. We're talking about the season. Okay, 𝗦cie_𝗰𝗶𝗹, you got a nice little jolt for your book. Got some buzz going, but now we're not talking about it no more.
Yeah, I think I really want to get into the Case Keenum stuff here in a minute. I think I also wanted to just acknowledge, which I didn't get to do on our show last night. It just kind of escaped me as one of the many details that arose yesterday. But I thought it was really mature for Caleb to get up there and thank 𝗵𝗵 and Shane Waldron, because he threw him under the bus in that report from Shane Wickersham talking about how, and he did it also, guys, remember in the GQ, what was it? Esquire? What's the magazine?
The Esquire.
And everyone was kind of like, hey, like, we're not talking about last year anymore. Like, we've moved on from the Commanders game. And he kind of sort of reopened those wounds. But for him to get up there last night and be like, I'm so grateful to Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, 𝗵𝗵 and Shane Waldron. Those are the guys that got me here. Like, this is a part of my story and I wouldn't be here without them. And I'm really grateful that those guys got me here. So I thought that was really mature and really just showed, again, some awareness of sort of the ripple effect that story caused throughout the city and throughout the NFL. But let's move on, because we said we were ready to move on. And let's talk a little bit about Ben Johnson. Yesterday had some really insightful things to say about body language, which I think was sort of stirred by the Albert Breer report that the Bears' new coaching staff is working very closely with Caleb on two things. Number one, body language. Number two, pre-snap procedure, which Caleb described to us. They're calling it PSP. Let's talk about the body language thing here first. Ben Johnson said he sat down with Caleb Williams and watched some film and said, listen, is this the kind of team we want to be? We came to agreement. We said, this is not the kind of team we want to be. He says, we don't want to be a palms up team where we're always looking around. He says we're not a woe is me team. We're always going to be moving on to the next play, onto the next game, onto the next snap, etc. And he said that if those palms up team, he goes, to me, that's a sign of weakness. And I thought that was very insightful and put things into perspective about Ben Johnson's mentality of the culture he's setting and the detail that he is paying attention to, and he's not letting anything slide. So I thought that was really interesting that he didn't deny that Albert Breer report. Like, that clearly was something that they've been working on and talking about. What did you guys make of the whole body language conversation?
I would imagine it extends beyond Caleb Williams. And Pat Finley asked, like, does this go for DJ Moore too? Because, DJ Moore has been caught on camera doing those moments. And honestly, it's a problem, if you want to call it problem. It is something that has been pervasive on Bears sidelines for many seasons. We saw Justin Fields down in the dumps, really leaning back in the, on the sidelines, like, oh my God, what I got myself into. Jay Cutler, similar. all the time, that wore his feelings on his sleeves. You could tell when he was disappointed. But I'm curious where the line is between body language, because people aren't robots. People show emotion. And something that we see all the time in the NFL is tempers flaring, guys getting into arguments, guys trying to get a rise out of each other to rise to the occasion, right? This is a very emotional game. In between the lines, you have to play with a level of an intensity. We've seen Travis Kelce get intense with Andy Reid. We've seen Tom Brady get really, really intense with his offensive linemen and his receivers if he thinks it's not enough. So I'm curious, like, are they allowed to show passion? Are they allowed to show fire? What type of body language are the Bears looking for? I imagine those things are okay. I'm sure all of those things are okay. But you know, it's like, you don't want these guys to be emotionless robots. I don't think that is the goal. I think it is adjusting the body language.
Well, let me jump in there real quick. Sorry, Clay. I think Ben Johnson is fiery. I think Ben Johnson's whole demeanor is fire. And he joked with us last week about, I'm working on teaching the players about body language. I got to be better about it. And I don't think Ben Johnson is bad body language. I think he's fiery. And that's a very different. Tom Brady would scream at his offensive lineman on the sideline, as you alluded to. We've seen it from some of the best quarterbacks. But I think you, first of all, earn that. Second of all, I think there's also a tone that's being set from Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's not going to sulk, and he might be screaming and like fired up and yelling at, being stern, but he's not hands on his head or, I think there was also a conversation about we know Caleb Williams got sacked 68 times. I'm sure he was oftentimes in a lot of pain, but like slow to pick yourself up, Clay. And you have some really great examples from when you were playing about how body language sends a message, not just to your own teammates, but to the other team.
Oh, you want the fiery stuff, Alex. That stuff isn't just tolerated, it's celebrated. That's what you want. You want the guys that are excited, they're going to show the passion, that are going to be, just excited, flexing, all that. You're letting that out. That's what you are when you come on the field. You turn into this different person, and there's a ton of emotion there. It's just such a tense environment. It's like it's literally like you're a different human, and the emotion that comes out of you is great. And I don't think Ben is a guy that wants to limit any of that. What he's talking about is when you get sacked and you lay on the field like you're a dead body for an extra 5 seconds, when you come back to the bench and it looks like you're just praying, please, somebody help me. That's the stuff I think Ben's talking about. I remember talking about Tom Brady. I told this story on the score today, Ruthie. It is when I first get there in New England, and Tom calls his plays extremely fast, like an auctioneer. You can barely hear him. And it was tough at first. And I would go into the huddle and I'd be like a little nervous. Like, how can people listen to that? How do they know what he's saying? Right. So we go into the huddle one time and I'm with Tom and the ones. And Tom calls me, Green Route 373, 𝗦𝗃 𝗃𝗀. I'm like listening, trying to get my ear. If you're listening, I'm trying to listen to what's going on. And Tom goes in the middle of the huddle. He goes, Clay, I don't like that look in your eye. And then I turn, I'm like, what? Like WTF? And I'm like glaring at him. He goes, that's better. Then he calls the play. And I'm like, oh, he just got me. Like, he just Mr. Miyagi'd me or something, man. It was pretty crazy. So body language is sending a message to not only yourself, if you're going palms up, it's sending a message to your team when they see you. Okay, he's fired up. Yeah, he just dropped this ball. Yeah, he just got sacked. He's keeping going. He's not slowing down. That doesn't matter. We're moving on from this. It sends a message to the team on the other side, or the team that's watching you in between the lines. They see you over here hanging your head, you're pouting. Okay, hey guys, they're ready to break. Let's go. We get a couple more of these plays. They're done. Let's get them on the bus, send them home, start the engines. Tell the bus driver to turn the engines on. Let's go. These guys are done for. It sends a message to everybody on that field, that team. So body language is important, especially as a football player, one of these athletes, the gladiators between the lines. If you're going up in a fight, MMA fight, and this guy, you just hit him and you're just humped over, leaning over, you're like, oh yeah, that gives you extra energy. This guy, he's done. He's cooked. So that's what I think Ben means. Yeah. And as a football player, when you're seeing that, when you're feeling that, it's extremely important for me. You look at the best quarterbacks, Tom Brady, you see him when he's down 28-3 on the sidelines. He's just stern, looking straight ahead. Jalen Hurts, guy just won the Super Bowl. Look at Jalen Hurts when things are going right. Look at Jalen Hurts when things are going wrong. You can't tell the difference. This guy's the exact same. That's what I think Ben Johnson meant.
Yeah. And it's interesting you bring up the huddle stuff with Tom Brady, because that goes back to what Ben Johnson was also talking about with the body language, with the way we carry ourselves in practice, speaking as him. We saw a few times guys get out of the huddle, and then what happens? Get back in the huddle. And
that's not what he said. That's not what he said, Alex. He said,
he said, F that. Huddle up. I loved it. I wrote it down. I said, whoop,
family program using family language that might not have been used on the practice field. But to that point, the Bears broke the huddle, and Ben Johnson is saying it didn't sound right. It didn't sound like we broke the huddle and we meant business. So go in there and do it again, and we're not going to walk past that stuff. This is the type of standard, and again, it all ties in together. If it doesn't sound right, if I don't think that you mean business breaking the huddle, then you're getting back in the huddle and you're doing it again.
It's awesome. It's awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit about Case Keenum, and then we'll get into practice. But we did get to hear from Case Keenum and Montez Sweat as well, who is very short with us, but says some important things. So I think let's start with Case Keenum here for a minute. Loved getting to hear from him for the first time.
Yeah.
He's such a dad, like giving such dad vibes. I thought he's 37 years old, as you mentioned, Clay. He's been in the league for a long time and basically told us that he thought about retiring last year. And then the Bears called him. He went what he thought was going to be a 15-minute meeting, ended up going hours, and he left there being like, man, I could be a part of something really special and help develop Caleb, who he felt at that time was going to be, can unlock some really incredible potential, and Case can be a part of that. And he said that what I loved, his experience with CJ Stroud, being the backup for CJ Stroud, CJ's rookie season, was something that taught him a lot about himself, that he loved being the helper to the leader. He loved supporting the guy who was leading from the front. And I think that's really what they brought him here to do. Ben also told us a little bit yesterday about just sort of the limitations they have with the coaches and players only get so much time together during the spring. So Case Keenum can be in the room with Caleb Williams if he has any questions, sort of going back to that whole how to watch film conversation, but he can be in the room, answer questions, and bridge the gap and sort of phrase things in certain ways that really can kind of speak maybe closer to the players than some of the people on staff can. Guys, what do you think? Also, Case Keenum getting second team reps yesterday, which I thought was interesting. Ben Johnson told us there is going to be an open competition between Tyson Bagent and Case Keenum for that number 2 role. What do you guys think about Case Keenum and what he had to say yesterday?
I think Case Keenum's got future coach written all over him if he wants it. And he kind of alluded to that. Like, yeah, the thought has crossed my mind. You got to have to ask my wife about that one. But yeah, it has crossed my mind as, he winds down his NFL career. If there's a guy who's thinking about retirement, he's obviously thinking about next steps. I think if he wanted to, he could be a coach. The way he was up there and the way he, interacts with all of us in a similar sense, like what the Bears had with Ryan Griffin last year, in that same kind of vein as it pertains to a QB2 quarterback battle. Case Keenum has played a lot with the 2s earlier. That very first time we were out there, I remember being like, whoa, wait, it's 11 out there, not 17 with this mixed group in this second unit. So that kind of dinged my head. I still think Tyson Bagent, though, will ultimately probably be the backup. When Tyson Bagent is in there, the offense still operates pretty well. He's making solid throws. He had one underthrown ball where one guy had his dude beat and he underthrew the ball. But Tyson Bagent has never been known for his huge arm. He's known for, being outside the pocket. He can make plays. He can run an offense. So if we're talking about QB2 competition, I still fully expect Tyson Bagent to be that guy. And then maybe Case Keenum is the third quarterback who hangs out kind of like Brett Rippon was, how Nathan Peterman was, that kind of extra coach who's also a QB in that QB room who may end up being a coach in his own right down the road.
I didn't see the 𝗬𝗃 Keenum interview live after Caleb and Ben. I got out of there. I'm like, all right, Ruthie, I gotta get back for the show. But I got to listen to it, and I thought he was excellent. And the things I took away from it, firstly, he brought up a good point. He says, when you're a rookie in this league, you don't know what you don't know. And that's true. I go back to coming in from Missouri State, not knowing a darn thing, man. Is like the book that they give you and they tell you to learn. It's like, how am I supposed to learn this thing? It's like, it's a very thick book, man. It's the playbook I'm talking about here, obviously. And he goes back to when he was with Houston. He didn't know he could switch plays from the one hash to the opposite hash. He didn't know what a base package and a nickel package was. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And then he's talking about how he can help Caleb. He said Caleb's a sponge. He is a guy that he was very impressed with how he's asking him questions. A guy with his talent level, the first overall pick. Very impressed with Caleb. Case Keenum's made $55 million in his career. He doesn't have to be here if he don't want to. I'm sure he could figure out a way to survive and support his family on $55 million. That's just me. I think I could. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, probably. So he wants to be here. He's a guy that knows his role. Said he loves leading from behind. How much he enjoyed C.J. Stroud leading from behind, being a voice in that room, helping him with all the questions he needs throughout his experience level. I also liked how he talked about some of the coaches on staff, and like Declan, how Declan may be a decade younger than him, but how sharp he is, and he's like the guy that knows everything, even though he's only been here for X amount of time, and that's good to hear as well. As far as the on-field stuff, I thought it was interesting that Case was taking the number 2 reps. I don't think Tyson or Case had a particularly great day. They both made some good plays. Both had some plays I think they wanted back. But that'll be something interesting to keep an eye on. I think Tyson wins the job. He's just got a little bit bigger of an arm than Case Keenum. It looks like he's lost a little bit of velocity, but he's a guy you know is going to know how to set the protections, do everything you're supposed to do, is going to know how to run an offense, be that point guard type guy, short, quick passes, knows how to read a defense. And then Tyson, he did talk about Tyson as well and talking about these guys he's competing with. I love that. Like, I'm competing against myself. I'm competing against the guys in this room. I think Tyson's going to play for a long time. He even said he thinks Austin Reed is going to play for a long time in this league. So Case Keenum's interview was great, and I think he's a veteran guy that is making a lot of good points and is going to help Caleb a lot, most importantly, with the film study and what he's looking at on Sundays.
I loved the praise that Case had for Tyson Bagent. I think he said he's the most prepared guy in the room. Like, he is just locked in, which we obviously knew from getting to know Tyson and just sort of how intense he is. But it was cool to hear Case, someone who's might be competing for that job, speak so highly of a young quarterback that is, maybe Case sees a little bit of himself in. So let's move into sort of what we observed yesterday in practice. Let's start offensively. The big headline, I think, Clay, was Ozzy Trapilo at left tackle, the starter. Wanted to get your thoughts on what you saw from him, just the way he was moving and his technique and fundamentals.
Yeah, Ozzy doesn't look like a rookie to me. He's a guy, I know he played a long career and played a lot of different positions. He does have some time on task at left tackle, but he just looks smooth. He's got bend. He looks smooth. The guy knows what he's doing. He just seems like he fits. He's a guy that doesn't look like he doesn't belong. And that's tough when you're playing next to Joe Thuney and you're playing on this first unit, which he is doing. And you didn't see anybody get past him. I thought he played well, great sets. I mean, just natural bend for a big guy. And everything you saw in Ozzy, pre-draft, it looks like it's translating. And obviously there's no pads. But I will say that these defensive linemen are rushing. This isn't a 1-2 step and stop. You're rushing. We saw Darnell Wright get beat a couple times by Dominic Robinson. I mean, these guys are rushing. They're not. This isn't just tag off, stop, 2 steps and stop. You're getting some good reps here. I thought Kieran looked a little clunky at times. I think he's still got some work to do on his sets. And when Ben was asked about, you're going to move Darnell over the left side, and he said, I think we're going to wait and see what we got on the left side first. But then he kept the door open afterwards, saying, possibly later. But here's my thing. You kept Braxton Jones at left tackle and Darnell Wright at right tackle. You have those two same players back. You didn't switch them last year. Why would you switch them this year? The only thing you could think of to say is because you think Ozzy would be that much better at right than he is at left. And from what I've seen so far, that's not the case. Ozzy looks good at left. You still got Braxton, the guy that started last year that wasn't that bad. People talk about Braxton like he was just getting beat like a stepchild. You shouldn't ever beat your stepchild. It's a figure of speech, guys. So I don't think that's a thing. I think this competition we get to training camp is going to be between Ozzy and Braxton. And who knows? I think Ozzy has the talent to win that job. I think Braxton's a very athletic guy. I think he'll heal up fine. It'll be an interesting battle. It'll be one of the most intriguing battles in training camp that I'm looking forward to seeing. But overall, I was very impressed with Ozzy once again. And he took all the reps with the ones. So that was interesting to see.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be musical chairs. I believe that's the actual phrase that he used, is that, they're going to switch Karan and Ozzy there at left tackle until Braxton gets healthy. And then when Braxton is healthy, I imagine we're going to see Braxton in there with the ones a bunch as he gets back up to speed at the start of training camp. So, yeah, it was interesting. Like, okay, we have a little bit of a rotation here. It's not just going to be Karan in here all the time. Ozzy is a total it seems like he's going to be a fixture, especially in this summer going. And then reading between the lines, it sounds like they're happy to leave Darnell Wright at right tackle. That's maybe a break glass in case of emergency option. If nothing is working out, then okay, now let's see Darnell and let's see if Ozzy is that much better, right? If as they try and find the best five, right? If Darnell Wright is a 9 at right tackle and Ozzy Trapilo is a 6 at left tackle, that's 15. But if Darnell Wright's an 8 at left tackle and Ozzy Trapilo's an 8 at right tackle, now you're at 16. That's a bigger number. So like that kind of math that you're doing with it, right? My like completely random math. But that seems like a break glass in case of emergency type deal with Darnell Wright. In terms of the pass rush, it's not just the defensive linemen. I mean, Dennis Allen was throwing crazy blitzes at them. We saw Tremaine Edmonds blitzing and then Ruben Hippolyte doing twists off of that. So there was trouble in the middle. And honestly, the offense struggled with it. And it's unfair. We should couch all of this. It is unfair for the offensive linemen. There's no pads on. There's nothing for them really to grab a hold of and block. So it's hard to like really evaluate the offensive linemen as all of this is going on. But Dennis Allen for sure was not holding back. He was sending the heat. And there were some moments where QBs were flustered because of it. There were moments when Caleb Williams was flustered. And then there were some moments where it's like, okay, we're going to dial up a little screen. We're going to hit DeAndre. You're going to bring the house. We're dialing up a little screen to DeAndre Swift. And all of a sudden DeAndre Swift is off. So it was interesting, as you said, Clay. It wasn't just the basic vanilla stuff. Dennis Allen was really bringing it.
Clay, and that's something I wanted to ask you about as well with Montez Sweat yesterday. One of the biggest headlines, I think, from his press conference was when he was asked about Dennis Allen's defense, and he said it's very complex. What did you take away from that? Like, translate that for us.
Well, Ruthie, you've watched these OTA practices with me a lot, and I'm always trying to diagnose. I'm saying, okay, it's man, it's zone, it's too high, it's one high. And you were standing there, and I was wrong a lot. And I was good at that. And I'm even watching from the sideline, so you should get a better vantage point. I was like, so you got Cole Kmet going in motion, right? Then you got a linebacker foul. I'm like, oh, it's man-to-man. Linebacker foul. Next thing you know, they drop into a zone. I like, okay. I mean, this is some high-level stuff here because that's hard to do when you're switching the strength and you're still able to drop into a zone and have the players drop. Cole Kmet lines outside. You have a linebacker on him. That's man-to-man. Or a cornerback out there. Okay, that's probably zone because you don't want a cornerback guarding Cole Kmet man-to-man. He's still playing man-to-man with just the cornerback on him. So he's doing a lot of high-level things, and you guys saw it. We're in third down. he's running double mug, A gap, twist, blitz. He's doing cross dogs. He's throwing some games at him already. And I'm like, okay, Dennis Allen, I like you. Come and swing it. And
it's
that's
made,
something,
dude.
yeah. And I've played against Dennis Allen an entire offseason before in the OTAs and the training camp back when I was with the Saints. And I mean, some of the stuff is confusing. But I think he's even added to his bag. When he was the coordinator for the Saints and I played on the Saints, as offense, we always had to make sure that we knew, what was coming and the blitzes and the trick stuff that he's doing. But he's just going to be aggressive. He's going to keep people off balance, offenses off balance, because typical things that will help you gather information, he's taking that into account. He's setting the blitzes already, and he's just keeping you off balance. And I think that's something that's going to pay big dividends, come season with everything he's able to do. And he's just, it's chess, not checkers, right? He's playing chess, and I think he's going to confuse some of the younger quarterbacks he goes against.
One more thing with Dennis Allen before we move off Dennis Allen. He's trying some guys in interesting spots. We've spoken already about moving the linebackers between Mike and Will. And we saw TJ Edwards wasn't there, so we saw 𝗰𝗶𝗶𝗹 taking some of those reps. And I actually thought 𝗰𝗶𝗶𝗹, that speed shows up. It's
great PBU on Swift too. That wheel route, yeah.
If he had gotten his head around a little earlier, might have had an INT. But I mean, he crashed down on Swift, and it was a nice play. But remember last week when I was like, I could have sworn I saw Jaquan Brisker on the line of scrimmage picking up dudes on the line of scrimmage. We saw that once again on 7-on-7s, but this time he had Kevin Byard on the line of scrimmage. Again, picking up dudes right off the line, not playing deep, not even really playing in the box. So we know that Dennis Allen has done crazy things with players like Tyrann Mathieu, right? The Honey Badger. And I think it's really cool and interesting that early in the summer, he is putting guys in a lot of different spots. And again, throwing stuff at the wall. What looks good? What doesn't look good? You're a safety, but can we use you down here? Because if you're able to have all those different looks and do all these different things, that's more of that complexity, right? It's not just the fronts. It's not just the games. It's also the personnel, because then you got guys coming in and bailing out and doing all sorts of wild stuff that it's hard to get a beat on it. So using these safeties really up on the line of scrimmage, I think it's been kind of cool.
You guys talked about TJ Edwards not there. Neither was Kyler Gordon. Ben Johnson told us they're both dealing with some soft tissue. Jalen Johnson not there. This is optional, but Ben didn't give an injury designation for Jalen. So I imagine he's just doing his own thing. I wanted to talk about those two interceptions that Caleb threw, one to Tremaine Edmonds, the other to Jaquan Brisker. And the Bears just posted a video of the Brisker interception, and it was Tremaine Edmonds that tipped it into Jaquan Brisker. If I saw that correctly, I saw the hair in the 9, so I imagine it was 49. But I think, first of all, great to see Tremaine all over the ball. Second of all, great to see Brisker just making noise. I mean, fired up to be out there, and it just feels good to have him back out there on the field. Before we wrap this thing up, guys, I want to get your thoughts on Brisker being back. And Tremaine, if you want to touch on it.
I mean, Brisker made his presence noticed immediately at the very start of team drill. What does he do? Lets out a huge yell where it's like, oh, wake up. It's team drill time. And Jaquan Brisker is here, and he is here to make plays. I thought he looked really good the first OTA. Again, he made himself noticed. I'm not too worried about the Caleb Williams of it all. That throw that Brisker intercepted, he was trying to make a pretty tough throw, layering it over Tremaine, who's a big dude, in front of Brisker to Rome Odunze. And yeah, I mean, Tremaine Edmonds just used his size, used his length, tips the ball. Tip ball like Brisker, that gives him a great opportunity to come down with it. The other one, it looked like he didn't even see Tremaine Edmonds, to be honest, because it was right there and bam, Tremaine Edmonds took advantage. But yeah, again, moving these guys around, having them come up, having them drop back, it's confusing stuff. And if Tremaine Edmonds, this is something that I think Herb Howard was kind of asking about Tremaine last week. Tremaine Edmonds, kind of known as this cover 2 dude or cover 3 guy last year with Flus and that defense. But this is going to be a different thing. And if Dennis Allen could unlock some more playmaking with Tremaine Edmonds. Obviously, that helps the defense a ton. And we have seen that playmaking a little bit with Tremaine in the past.
Yeah, I thought Tremaine had a solid day, but I mean, that first interception was a gift. I mean, wrapped up, nice. They put a bow on it and just gave him a gift. Threw it right to him. Didn't see him at all. Second interception, I was a little concerned about because he had the flat was wide open. It was a shallow cross with a dig coming behind it, and the shallow was wide open. DJ Moore could have caught it, ran for 10, get to 10. EPA, baby, EPA. Throw the short one, let him run a little bit. So I think that they'll watch the tape and clean that up. So that's why it's May. Other little tidbits I thought that were interesting from practice before we get out of here. I thought 𝗁𝗏 had a good day. You saw him in motion a little bit. You saw him line up wide a little bit. He caught a 10-yard stop route outside wide against a cornerback. He had this play where it was this quick motion. He's in a bunch set, motions out wide right before the snap, outflanks the defense, and runs a 10-yard out route. I thought that was great. So you're getting to see him utilizing, and he had a big catch when he was attached over the middle, right over the top of Tremaine Edmonds down the seam. So you got to see some of what 𝗁𝗏 can bring as a pass catcher yesterday, and I love seeing that. Because now you got to imagine you're in 12 personnel. You're seeing Cole. He looked comfortable to me outside the numbers running into cornerback. Looked comfortable and he was in the slot running that motion. Looked comfortable attached. Now imagine Colson Loveland, your 10th overall pick that can do all those things, and you call 12 personnel. The defense matches you with base, and now you got these two guys split out wide, and the defensive coordinator is about to have a stroke because he doesn't know how to play these guys. So that was something I really enjoyed seeing, and think that Cole is more versatile than people give him credit for a massive individual, huge guy. And I don't think our listeners realize how big 𝗁𝗏 is. He's like 6'6.5", 265 pounds. This guy's a monster. So that was something I thought was interesting. I like what I'm seeing from Olamide Zaccheaus in the wide receiver position. JP Richardson, I think, is going to be my camp crush. I mean, Alex liked the guy, short little receiver from TCU, but the guy's quick. He made some plays. Really shifty guy. DeAndre Swift had a couple of nice plays, couple of nice screens, but I'm a little concerned if Swift goes down, like who's going to step up? We haven't got to see much of 𝗵𝗻, Ian Wheeler yet, but Roschon's out there running. You can't really get a good feel for him without the pads on, because he's not a guy that's gonna show his explosiveness and just jump off the page in OTAs. You know, he's a guy that you watch when the pads gets on, he's breaking tackles. But I think that's all I got. But how about you guys? Any last tidbits of any notes you had? I know Alex always has a page full of notes, guys, when he's at OTAs. Yeah, I mean, his handwriting, though, is I don't know how he reads that. I think it's code, actually, so nobody else can read it.
This very clearly says 2 elusive, or 26. You were just saying 26 elusive yak. JP Richardson.
Yeah.
How about this? So we got some special teams nuggets. 8 drills, 52-yard field goal, plenty of leg.
That's a nice kick.
Field goal attempt that we've seen from Cairo Santos this year. It was a 52-yarder. He drilled it.
60.
Plenty of leg. Absolutely no problem.
Spoiler alert. We're not at Soldier Field, where the wind is crazy. But
that's true. They do practice at Soldier Field, though, in midweek, and he's got to figure it out. He's fine.
He's fine.
One more special teams nugget. Torrey Taylor looks like he was in midseason form. He was just burying kicks towards the sidelines. He had one touchback that he looked kind of upset about.
Ruthie loves to hear it.
I got no issue. I got no concerns when it comes to Torrey Taylor.
He looked dialed.
Great.
So there's a little special teams nugget. One more tiny nugget. We saw Olamide Zaccheaus, as you mentioned, playing pretty much exclusively in the slot last week. This week we saw DJ Moore play in the slot quite a bit, and I thought that looks pretty good. He, is kind of thought of as the outside guy, but if he can be really good in the slot and be an Amon-Ra St. Brown type guy, that could be great. So that was interesting to see. Okay, let's get DJ Moore in the slot a little bit, see what that looks like.
Slot's getting a little crowded, but we'll take it. Anywhere you can get the ball in DJ Moore's hands, that's where you want it. So I'm good on that. But yeah, 𝗦𝗂 𝗍𝗂𝗧 is someone that I think is getting the ball a lot more than we expected to. Someone before they drafted Luther Burden, before they talked about moving DJ more to the slot, before we talk about Colston Loveland, who's basically a slot tight end. There was 𝗦𝗂 𝗍𝗂𝗧 that they signed, and we're like, oh, they got their slot receiver, so it was, but it's cool to see him because he's really fun to watch. Like, he's someone that can move. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. Rome Odunze, we haven't talked about much, but like, that guy is so solid. Like, he's just someone that acts, looks like a pro. Like, he
plays hard.
Did it last week. Say it again.
Plays hard. Every drill you watch him,
every drill,
like, he's going hard. And that's something I always look at in the pre-practice. Full speed routes, full speed everything. Like, he's trying to get better.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch Antoine Randall coach those guys up as well. Guys, we got to run. I got to get downtown so I can do a show tonight, and same with Clay. And Alex, you're waiting for us there with open arms. So thank you so much for watching or listening to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Big Pro Football show tonight at 5:30 tonight, and no show on Friday, but we'll be back on Monday. So same with the Charter Podcast. We'll be back on Monday, I think, probably.
Or record on Monday.
Oh, we got a mandatory minicamp next week, guys.
We got mandatory minicamp,
right? Or is that Monday?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So maybe we'll do a little preview episode on Monday. We'll talk about it. We'll let you know. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you all have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you next week.